Greetings everyone, I'm the Serious Bear, welcome back to Rome Total War Remastered, and of course the faction guides. Today we are going to look into the House of Scipii. So firstly, some words about the Scipii, also known as the House of Cornelia. They were a patrician family based in Capua and later in Messana, in Sicily. Their first mention is in 396 BC, when they fought the Etruscan League. They got distinguished in the 3rd century BC in the Punic Wars, with a man named Gnaeus Cornelius Scipio Asina, who took Lilybaeum and Messana from the Carthaginians in 260 BC. And their most famous man is, of course, Scipio Africanus, who defeated Hannibal at the Battle of Zama in 201 BC. And finally, their defeat came at the hands of Caesar in Thapsus in 46 BC, when their last family member, Metellus Scipio, who was sportive of the Senate, he died at Thapsus. Okay, back to the game. Here's the intro for the Scipii, which is a modified intro from the original game. I don't know why, but...
Senators, what does it mean to be Roman? What makes us stand above all other peoples? Is it our bravery in the heat of battle? I say not. For the barbarian dares to attack us, knowing he will lose. Is it our piety, that we worship the true gods and earn their favor by our offerings? I say not. The Greeks too make great offerings to their gods, who are not so different to our own. Perhaps it is our worldliness, that we turn a profit in foreign lands. Again, I say not. Phoenician merchants are to be found in every port across the known world, and bring great wealth to Carthage. To be Roman is to exhibit all these qualities. Yet above all, it requires another: obedience. To submit to just laws is the supreme Roman virtue, through which each man's selfish actions are combined into a perfect, unmatchable whole. Senators, I, Cornelius Scipio, ask you today to support a war that will bring Roman rule to new lands, that their peoples might understand true virtue, and the wealth of our citizens increase. The Roman way, above all others, is supreme. It is our duty and our destiny to bring it to the world.
Okay, so that intro was indeed different than the original. How do you like it? Is it better or worse? In my opinion, it's a little bit worse than the original. They left intact the intros of the Brutii and the Julii, but modified this one for the Scipii. I don't know why. Okay, so let's get on with the tactics and the strategy phase. We start off with two cities, Capua and Messana in Sicily. Capua is easily defended, it will not get attacked, so you might consider building an economy here in Capua, an economy focused city. But here in Messana is a different story. We will need to train units and fight the Greeks. You can see our first mission of the Senate is to take Syracuse. It belongs to the Greek cities, and Syracuse is powerful, so you need to be very, very careful when attacking it. I say build up your strength first and then attack the Greeks. Here are the Carthaginians in Lilybaeum. You have two allies, of course, or three if you count the Senate. The House of Julii, who will go north into Gaul. The House of Brutii, they will go into Greece, 100%. And your job is to take Carthage. Let me show you. I will use a cheat here. Normally I won't do this. Okay, fog of war is eliminated. You can see Carthage's lands. This is your primary target. Carthage, Thapsus, Caralis and Lilybaeum. But firstly you need to build up your strength, so let me show you the buildings you can build, of course. You have access to all the tech. You can see here Imperial Palace, Epic Stone Walls, Urban Barracks, and so forth, Circus Maximus and so forth. You have access to the best farms, the best water supplies, and Colosseum, which you can train gladiators from. Let's talk about the religion first. You can build as the Scipii Shrine to Vulcan, which is the best, in my opinion, the best religious building. It gives happiness 5% and upgrades light weapons, but I will talk about the Pantheons first. So this is the final upgrade for the temples. Pantheon of Vulcan gives 25% public happiness, upgrades light weapons, heavy weapons and armor +1, experience +2, and public order due to law. This is the best temple by far for any Romans. Upgrades weapons and experience, which is great. Next up, the Pantheon of Saturn gives 50% public order and due to happiness and law altogether, and upgrades light weapons and heavy weapons +1 and armor. Less useful, but good in a city you want to maintain order. And the last one is a special temple to the Scipii. The Pantheon of Neptune. You have to have a port to build it. It gives 25% happiness, 10% law, and light heavy weapons +1 and armor. But the speciality of Neptune, you can build these 2 ships, Corvus Cincurem, and this by far Decere, a heavy warship, the best warship you can get in Rome Remastered. This is a walking or a floating fortress rather, but I'll talk about this later. So, your first moves as a Scipii should be build units in, in Capua, some Hastati, and a port, your first moves. And in Messana, build a shrine to Vulcan, and after that a port or militia barracks for Hastati. Do not attack the Greeks right away, because you will lose. You need to build up your forces, so get this guy in a boat and bring reinforcements to Messana. After you're ready, you can either attack Lilybaeum or Syracuse. You'll need to get hold of Sicily and get that sea trade going. Remember, in the game, the best trade is the sea trade. And if you're feeling lucky, you can go over to Greece and get Sparta and Corinth for this statue of Zeus wonder. It is a great wonder, gives +4 bonus to population loyalty. A very, very important wonder. And of course you can take Caralis too. It's weakly defended. The Julia usually take Caralis, but you can beat them to it if you are feeling lucky. So if you get Sicily first, your economy should be able to sustain yourself. The profits should start rolling in, and after that you can take the fight to Carthage. After Carthage, of course, comes the Numidians, but they are weak. And after that you could go to Spain, or you could go to Egypt. I recommend Egypt. It's a better source of income, and Egypt will grow powerful in time, so if you take them out, that's one less enemy to worry about. So that's the strategy part. Now let's go over to the units. Okay, here we are. Welcome to the unit page for the Scipii. Let's get started. I don't want to waste time. These units are very, very similar to the Julia and the Brutia units. The only difference is this: the Mirmilio gladiators you can recruit from the Colosseum. Let's go over one by one. Peasants, they are trash, of course, as I said in my last guides. Do not use them, only for population transfer or garrisons if you like. Town Watch, the only difference from peasants is that they have a shield. So yeah, they are weak. Auxilia, they can be a bit better than the Triarii. They come after the reforms. They are spearmen, of course. Use them against cavalry. Hastati, our first infantry unit of the game proper. You will use them at first very, very much. You can depend on them holding the line. They will throw their spears, their pilum, firstly, and then attack. Triarii. These are the best spearmen around until the reforms. They can hold their ground and they have good stats, so use them against cavalry mostly. Principes, they are considered heavy infantry. They are better than the Hastati all around. They throw the pilum also, like the Hastati do, and they will hold their ground fairly well. Early Legionary Cohort. This is the first unit you get after the reforms. It's comparable to the Principes. They will hold their ground, they have better stats, they will throw their pilum, etc. You get my point. Mirmiro Gladiators. These are the best fighters around, they have good stats, but there are only 40 guys in a unit, so I don't recommend using Gladiators very well. They have 2 hit points, excellent morale, well armored, etc., but 40 guys. So yeah. Legionary Cohort. This is an improvement of the early Legionary Cohorts, obviously. They can form testudo. They use their pilum. They are very well armored, so very resistant to arrow fire, which is great. And better all around, as I said, than the early Legionary Cohorts. Next up, the Praetorian Cohort. The first elite infantry of the game. Can form testudo, uses a missile weapon before charging, good morale, very well armored. Can sap, and they have armor piercing, their primary weapon. These are great. I recommend using them whenever you get the chance. They will hold your ground and win you battles. Now, Urban Cohort are the elite units of the Romans. Suffice to say, they can win you battles and hold the line in any situation. They will not run anytime soon. They have great stats and they are a little bit better than the Praetorian Cohorts. Now, Arcani. They are considered heavy infantry, but 32 in a unit, so don't use them. Or if you really want to use them as a surprise. They can hide anywhere, so position them in grass or forests and ambush the enemy. Next up, Early Legionary First Cohort. This is a larger number than the Early Legionary Cohort. They have 122 and they have the Eagle, which inspires nearby troops, which is very useful, they give morale. And Legionary First Cohort, an improved variant of the early First Cohort. Now, the ranged units, archers. They are fairly weak, keep them away from the front lines, and keep firing. That's all I can say about them. Next up, Velites. They are weaker than the archers, but you will get them first, probably. They are skirmish troops, so harass the enemy before engaging with your Hastati or Principes. Light Auxilia, they are an upgrade of the Velites. They come after the reforms, but they're fairly comparable. They only have better morale. So, the Archer Auxilia comes next. This is a slightly better variant than the normal archers. They fire further, which is very important. But otherwise, the same tactic applies. Keep them far away from the front line and keep firing at the enemy. Next, Incendiary Pigs, a special unit. I talked about this in my other guides. Use them against the Carthaginians, which is very important in your playthrough of the Scipii, because you will get elephants later in the game. So if you see elephants, build some Incendiary Pigs and use them. I normally don't use them, but I will leave it at your discretion. Now, War Dogs, these I do use. They will frighten nearby enemies and they are fast moving, so hit them from behind or from the sides and the enemy will suffer a morale penalty. Now over to the cavalry parts. Equites are your first cavalry of the game, pretty weak. Use them as light cavalry to catch fleeing enemies or to hit enemies from the sides or the back to break them. Next, Roman cavalry, the first cavalry after the reforms. They are slightly better than the Equites, not much to say about them. Legionary cavalry is better in all accounts. They have better stats. They have good morale, we are very well armored, and good stamina, so they can run further. So use this whenever possible. The Roman general is, of course, obviously, do not lose this guy, and keep him around your front line. It will bolster morale. Praetorian cavalry. Now these units I like. They are the best, almost the best units in the game, cavalry-wise. They have great stats, so they can hold the line even in one-on-one situations. The Armored General is an improved version of the normal general. It comes after the reforms, so slightly better stats. And the Cavalry Auxilia. These are velites on horses, basically. So if you want a quick harassment, use these. Now the siege units. Ballistas and Scorpions I talked about in my last guides. They are fairly useless, I don't use them. But if you want to go to a heavy siege mode army, use these guys. Repeating ballistas are slightly better, they can impale several men and they will keep firing like a ancient machine gun. Now, onagers and heavy onagers. Use these guys when you're sieging cities, obviously. The heavy onagers have a greater area attack and greater damage. They are very long range, so yeah. You can attack groups of units, but you need to get lucky to hit anything with these guys. Okay, so that's the unit part of the Scipii, pretty similar to the other Roman families. I will arrange a battle, so see you there.
Now, you're probably wondering about this evening's entertainment. There's enough wine in camp to float a boat. It's all yours when they're dead. Oh yes, and the camp women will be suitably appreciative, too. Today we go against the Carthaginians. Their foul baby killing is only the start of their wickedness. So beware. In victory, they are cruel beyond words. This is the end of the road. This is the last battle. The enemy have nowhere left to run. They must hold us here, or like so many ghosts, vanish away utterly. So let us take up our arms one last time, sharpen the sword, and make ready. This will be the day of their final, lasting defeat!
Nice speech. So welcome to the siege tactics phase. In my last episodes I talked about the normal battles and the cavalry battles. So here I will talk about assaulting a city, which is a fairly common situation. So I loaded up a scenario with the Scipii when you have siege engines. So before a battle, of course, position your troops well. Here the enemy has simple stone walls. They have towers, they will fire at you from the towers, and if they put any troops on the walls. So we have all four types of siege works. First is the sap point. I will put a hastati near the sap point. They will go underground and destroy the wall, which is very useful. Another is a siege tower. I'll put it here. They will travel to the wall. They can fire on the enemy. They will travel to the wall and break through. Next up is the ladders.
Move! Hurry! Quickly!
Ladders will obviously go to the walls and climb them. And the last one is the ram. It's commonly used to break the city gate, to get inside the city fast, but they are fairly weak. And we have lastly onagers, which are great. Okay, in this I will show you how to get inside the city. I will drop the siege equipment and put my guys in reserve. So, let's start the battle. Let's fire at the walls with our onagers. Let's go break up the city gate.
Good Roman engineers and narrow work. It can only be a matter of time before the walls crumble.
Keep your cavalry in reserve. Group them 1 or 2, whatever you like. And wait for the walls to be breached. Let's see which is first. My money is on the onagers. We are fighting Carthage, our traditional enemy. Come on, I give the order. Go. Okay, so as I predicted, my ram has caught fire and will break down. Get the other ram and try again. Rams are pretty worthless when dealing with better defenses. Okay, so as I predicted again, the onagers are the best siege units. But do not underestimate the sapping point or the siege towers. Personally, my favorite are the siege towers.
Praise the gods! The siege towers are at the walls! Now the real fight begins! Roman military engineering triumphs once more! The walls are down! Order your men on to victory!
Units! Attack!
Okay, so the walls are broken. In theory, now you need to rush in and defeat the defenders. So that's what I'll do. Look, the second ram is burning, so do not rely on rams.
Our ladders are in place, and our men are now attacking. Against courage, what use of walls?
Okay, let's rush in and defeat that cavalry.
Great gods! Our soldiers have done well this day. The walls are taken. The engineering works have gone well. The enemy walls are now undermined.
Okay, so you see the sappers have worked their magic, and they have broken the walls too. And now the only thing that remains is defeat the defenders. Okay, so you get the idea of the building has caught fire. Very nice. Very nice effects. Okay, you get the idea of what to do in siege conditions. So I hope you enjoyed it. Now let's get back to the summary part. So, the Scipii are a little bit better than the Julia in my opinion. They get the awesome Temple of Vulcan, which upgrades weapons and experience. And they have the strongest ships in the game for controlling the Mediterranean. So if you take Sicily and you take Carthage after that, you're all set to win the game. So that's it for the Scipii. Thank you very much for watching, and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in my next guide. Have a great day and bye.